Judith Kitchen was the Edna Plummer character. Edna Plummer in that memoir was Judith Kitchen. So that's the woman. And I was just actually reading that memoir yesterday when I found out that she had died. Tessa Goddard was the character. This was a woman that on Facebook you sometimes get these recommendations for friends, and I guess because at one point I had found her a decade or so ago, and well, maybe I had looked her up or something, and uh, so it somehow gets people that I used to work with or whatnot, and I find it annoying sometimes because I don't want to see those people's faces, but every so often you get something interesting. The character that I called Tessa, her real name was Betta, Betta. I won't give her last name, but she was very much this left wing believer, but she was a true believer. She wasn't one of these nasty people. She works now or she's worked for the last 15, 20 years in Maine for like organic growers or something. She and the guy, Matt Kitchen was the guy's real name. I don't know what I call him in here. That was Judith Kitchen's son, were better poets than I were. But they had written poetry for a lot longer by that time. I'd only written poetry for 2 or 3 years. I had much greater potential than they did, and they, as far as I know, they don't write poetry anymore. But I had met this girl, Betta, called Tessa in the memoir, and she was the one I wanted. She was sort of like the Anne of Green Gables type. She was smart. She was writing poetry. I later found out, years later, looking online, that her father, I think, was a symphony orchestra conductor or something, and her mother had been a writer. So she came from one of these wealthy families that was into the arts. And uh, I think in another one of my books, I also describe a little bit more of it. And for about a week that I was up there in Brockport, we were sort of flirting. I didn't know whether she was involved with this Judith Kitchen's son, and so we were flirting a little bit. And one day I was walking back between like the morning session and the afternoon sessions, and then sometimes we'd go to Judith Kitchen's home at the time to have everyone in the writing classes there just meet to have supper or something. And I remember I was coming out of this, it's called the Lift Bridge Bookshop in Brockport, and I got most of my Robinson Jeffers books there and a few other books. And coming home, and I met her there, and we're walking along the Erie Canal in upstate New York, and there was like going up and down these little hills along the canal, and I remember, it was like a nice movie moment. She sort of came down a hill too quickly, and I caught her, and then I kissed her, and I thought we had connected or whatnot. I didn't know whether she was dating Judith Kitchen's son or not, but I didn't try to put the moves on her too much, and I eventually wrote her a letter after I'd gone back to after that weekend. She never wrote back to me though, so I don't know whether she was involved with that son or whatnot.